Welcome to YouTooSpain, broadcasting live on YouTube. On today's show, I'll be talking with our good friend Antonio the Gestor about annual tax returns and other important administrative tasks that your Gestor can do for you. I've got tax on the brain. The answers are all here, and if you're watching the video back after the show, there will be chapter headings on the screen here, so you can easily scroll through and find the answer that you need. There'll be loads of handy information all the way through and lively chat from beginning to end, so stick around for the whole thing. You're all very welcome to YouTooSpain. Still alive? Let's dance! Oh yeah, groovy baby. Right then, just before we get chatting, don't forget to sign up for free to the monthly newsletter from our website YouTooSpain.com, which will be on the screen for most of the show. And also, don't forget to enjoy a free account and free advice from our lovely friends at Smart Currency Exchange, whom I highly recommend for when you're moving here or buying a house. But do use the link below to get in touch with them. That helps YouTooSpain out at no extra cost to you. You can also find it on my link tree. That's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. There it is. I've got to show it on screen. So without further ado, please welcome our wonderful guest for today. It is, of course, our friend Antonio. Hola, Antonio.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Skatz. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. And you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. And it's great to have you live on the show at last, instead of doing a recording, which we've always done before, because you were always busy on a Saturday morning, weren't you?
No, it's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So let's say hello to a few people on the live chat. Steffi is listening in this morning, but she's driving down from Cheshire down to Leicester. That's where I used to live. Looking forward to hearing from Antonio. And Adam Farmer, morning from sunny Wolverhampton. Wow, what a night. Those northern lights were amazing. Oh, I'm glad you got to see them. We couldn't see them down here in Spain. And Anton cares. Hola todos. Finally a run of 4 sunny days here, but rain due from Monday. They're up in France. And hello to everybody who's not said hello yet on the live chat. You'll all be gradually joining us as we go along. So, first of all then, while we're waiting for people to come in, remind us, what is a Gestor and what do you do?
Well, a Gestor is a profession that is difficult to find, or I think it's impossible to find exactly the same in other countries besides Spain. But in general, the easy explanation is that it's someone that is a specialist in managing with the public offices on your behalf. Except, but we can manage as a Gestor, we can manage for everything you need to do in Spain with the public offices, except the court hall. We are not lawyers or solicitors, so we cannot go to the court hall to help you with a trial. But besides that, we can help you with the tax office, social security office, the Junta de Andalucía, or the region of Spain that you are, Comunidad de Madrid, or wherever you are. With the town hall procedures, and in general, as I said, with any public statement. Also, the main things that we normally do is with the tax office and social security office, for sure. This is 90% of the procedures we do.
Yes. So you're qualified as an accountant?
Yeah, sure. We are accountants, so we deal with that, and we have the differences between, for example, a Gestor and a general tax advisor is that we have the society of Gestors behind us. So we have for the relief of our clients, we have the coverage of the society. For example, in case that we do something wrong with the taxes, or we missed a deadline or something like that because of our fault, the civil liability insurance of the society will cover the negative consequences that may have this thing, you know. So this is something that gives you a more secure position if you are the client, and you can feel a little bit safer if you are on the Gestor hands than into a tax advisor general, which could be very, very professional, but doesn't have the society of gestores behind them,
That's a good society to be in then. Yeah, that's something that people should check if they're getting a gestor. Yeah.
There are actually four degrees that you can access that give you the access to become a gestor. I, for example, did Administración de Empresas, the VMA, and after that we had to do an examination to get the title. So on that examination you get more specialized on accounting, Spanish law in general, and procedures with the public offices, etc. So it is kind of a master. Actually, when I did it was only examination that you prepare for yourself, and nowadays there is a master to become gestor.
Good. Okay. Hello to Paul Cook and John the Joiner. People still joining us there, still alive. And a quick note for everyone before we go on, don't forget to sign up for the Scatsman YouTube channel. It's a separate channel, and subscribe to that, because the video diaries that I do on a Friday, which are my personal journey and the cancer and all that, they'll soon only be available on the Scatsman channel, because I'm separating them off to keep this one just about moving to Spain and living here. And my songs will also be on that channel. So I've put a link below to the latest diary so that you can find the channel and subscribe to it. And let's get the subscriptions up to the same level I've got on this channel. That'll be lovely. So,
if you let me introduce something, Scott, I would change the name for Superman channel, not the Scatsman channel. You are amazing sharing all that journey with everybody, because I'm really, really sure that this is going to be a huge help for those that could be passing a similar situation or could pass it in the future. So congrats for that decision.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure I can call it the Superman channel. I think I'd get sued by DC Comics or whoever it is that's in charge of the name. But there you go. But thank you. That's lovely of you to say. So, in the second half of the show, this is what we're going to do. We'll talk about the other bureaucratic services that gestors can help you with, but we'll get in the first half. We'll talk about the main topic, which is the annual tax return. And this is the time of year that it's all happening. That's the time of year that not a lot of people look forward to. It's the annual tax return, or as you call it, Decleracion de la Renta. So tell us exactly what that is to start with.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, these 2 months are not good for those that have to pay taxes or for allergics. So it's a bad month for both for both profiles. But we have to face it, So the Declaración de la Renta mainly is the Spanish tax forms for the tax return that exist in almost any country, like in the UK, in Ireland, or any European country. The name in Spain for these tax forms are Declaración de la Renta. Renta means income, actually. That's why it's kind of income declaration, the translation of the words. Okay. So, renta has other meanings as well, but one of them is income. Okay. So in that forms, we have to report to the tax office mainly the revenue that we had the previous year, which in Spain the tax year is different than other countries. In Spain, it's from January to December, the natural year, from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. So this is a period of time that you have to consider to declare your income and to apply the allowance or offset, wherever you can offset, etc. There are a lot of different circumstances,
Excellent. So there are the different forms that you have in Spain for residents and non-residents for tax returns. How do you know which one of those you have to fill in?
Well, you have to consider to do that, as you said, there are separate forms for resident and non-resident. So you have to consider if you are or not for that year a fiscal resident in Spain. That's the main thing. If you are a fiscal resident for 2023 in Spain, you have to do the standard tax return, the resident tax return, the Declaración de la Renta. If not, you have to do the non-resident tax return, which is very different to the main one, to the standard one.
Okay, so Can you explain a little bit more about what makes you a fiscal resident in Spain?
Yeah, sure. The fiscal residency means that I mean, if you will be considered as a fiscal Spanish resident in the first hand if you have been in during this natural year from January to December, more than 183 days in Spain, living here. Okay, this is the main reason to be considered as a fiscal resident, and this is the requisite or the situation that most people consider. But you don't have to forget that there is a second part that somebody tends to forget and get in trouble with the tax office, that in the law is saying as well that even not being more than 183 days, if your core of interest is in Spain, and when we say the core means, for example, your assets, if you, for example, have a house in Spain and don't have a home in any other country, or a rental property in any other country, even being less than 183 days, you could be considered a fiscal resident. Or another usual situation that we found, a family that one of the member of the couple are living here in Spain with the children that go to the school, and the other member is tripping all the year for working outside. For example, is going to the UK or to Ireland to work, and maybe is in Spain 4 months a year. So for the first requisite, he or she will admit it, but the family is here in Spain, so your core of interest, or his or her core of interest, is in Spain. So this kind of situation makes you a fiscal resident also. So you have to do the Decleracion de la Renta and declare in Spain your worldwide income, including your income from that job in the UK. Okay, so this is something that has to be considered.
And how do the tax office know that is the case?
At least let the tax office knows your situation on tax form. Eventually, maybe you can apply an exception of those income that you have from the UK. If you're paying taxes in the UK for those income from a job, for example, you can apply an exception, but we have to calculate the exception. We have to calculate that you are not passing the limit of the exception. So you have to go to a gestor. So you have to do the submission to report to the tax office the situation and change your status of fiscal resident before the tax office realized that you are doing wrong.
Excellent. Good morning to Barry from Unitech, by the way. Good morning from a sunny Warrington. That's unusual for Warrington. A holiday haircut today, and then 2 weeks in Rhodos from Monday. Oh, that'll be lovely for you. And good morning from Paula Bramble as well. Lovely to see you again. So, is the Declaracion de la Renta something that everyone has to submit, whether they're working or retired?
Well, everybody has to study if they have to submit or not every year. That's my advice. Maybe after studying it, you don't have to because you are below the threshold, or for any reason you don't have to, But everybody is not depending if you're retired or you're not retired. It's depending of the income you have and your fiscal residency status. That's the main thing that you have to consider. If you are a fiscal resident in Spain and you have income, at least you have to study your situation and check if you have to do it or not. If you are above the threshold, you have to do it, which, for example, for the main limit that you have to consider when you have, for example, there are a lot of different situations, but for expats in Spain, retired, the usual situation is that they are pensioner and they have pensions from abroad. So when you have pensions from abroad, the limit that for make you compel to do the submission, if this is your only source of income, is 15,000 a year of euros, not pounds, to be compelled to do the submission. But even if you are not compelled to do the submission, if you have some retention from the bank or any other source of income, it maybe it is an advantage to you to do the submission, because you can get a rebate from the tax office also. So my advice always is to check. And for example, we offer to our clients a free check of the tax return. If finally they don't have to do it, we don't charge anything. So the check is something that everybody should do, to know that they are doing correctly.
So that's something they can check with you first. That's really good. Do you cover any other regions, or are you specifically Andalusia?
No, we can do tax return, and we actually do for all Spain. It doesn't matter. Our clients are, of course, more concentrated in Andalusia, in the area of Granada, Cordoba, Malaga is our core of clients, but we have clients even in the Canarias, Baleares, Madrid, Barcelona, Galicia, almost everywhere. But of course, more people from around our offices for sure.
Okay. So let's move on to pensions then. Pensions from abroad, we're talking about specifically. There are different types of pension, and tell us about those and the differences between them.
Yeah, well, we have to consider mainly three different types of pensions from abroad. The first one is a state pension that you get just for your age. And this is a pension that when you are a fiscal resident in Spain, is taxable in Spain. This is an usual mistake that people tend to think that the state pension is not taxable in Spain because it's come from the state, and they consider that as a public pension, and it's not considered as a public pension. It's considered equal to a private pension. So the state pension is taxable in Spain, and you have to include that on your tax return. The second type will be the public pensions. You can have a public pension for being delivering abroad a public job, like for example, the teacher pension or fireman pension, army pension, or for being working in the town hall of your city, things like that. All this job that has been done for a public service is considered as a public pension, and this pension is not taxable in Spain. It's taxable in your country. Okay, so this is the second situation, and the third situation, or the third type, is the private pension, and a private pension, of course, is taxable in Spain also, because if you are fiscal resident in Spain.
I think that's quite important for a lot of our watchers, because we have a lot of people from the UK who are, who've worked for public organisations and are retiring here. So, yeah, that's good to know. Is it possible for anybody to make the tax return for themselves without the help of a Gestor? Is it easy?
Well, sure, it is possible. They should need to get a digital certificate. They have to go to the tax office website and download the fiscal information and start doing it. But it's quite risky if you don't know exactly what you're doing, because the Spanish tax system is much more complicated to manage than other countries. So if you are brave, technically you can do it. The problem is that probably you are missing something in the process, and you won't realize, because probably there is an allowance that you are not applying, or there is an income that you are declaring improperly, or something. So my advice, no doubt, is to go to a Gestor or a tax advisor. Of course, I think it's more secure to go to a Gestor. Well, of course, I will be more than happy to be your Gestor, but at least go to a professional Gestor to do it. That's my advice. But technically, it's possible to do it for you, no doubt.
Yeah, I'd give the same advice as you, because normally when I'm thinking about tax, I've looked at tax forms, and even in England, I found them, and in Ireland, I found them quite complicated.
In England, it's not that difficult. Actually, I have a lot of self-employed clients, that when they were self-employed in the UK, they did the tax return for themselves without any problem. And when they moved to Spain, and some of them at the beginning tried to deal the same with the tax office, all of them had really bad experience, because this is very difficult. Is this difficult sometimes even for us? We are professionals, because the law is changing every day. The criteria of some subjects from the tax office is different on different areas of Spain. For example, if I do the tax return for a client in Malaga or in Madrid or in Barcelona with exactly the same situation, sometimes I have to do it differently because the criteria of this area or the interpretation of the law is always open to interpretation. So, and each province of Spain, which is something that it shouldn't happen, but it happens, has a bit of flexibility to do the interpretation of the law. So different regions of Spain does different interpretation of the law. So for the same thing, for the same situation, you have to do the allowance or declaring the income in a different way depending where you are living in Spain. So this is something that a non-professional, it is impossible to get that info. This is something that only based on your expertise from your experience. So
Yeah.
these kind of things are difficult to manage for an individual.
Okay. Is it something that you can do dealing straight with the tax office for free?
You can go to the tax office and they will help you to fill the forms. Some officer from the tax office with an appointment attend you and will help you to fill the forms. But it is important to point that they are not going to give you tax advice. You are going to tell them what they have to include in the forms. They will fill the forms and submit. But the liability of doing the forms correctly or not, it's yours, it's not theirs. So this is something important to know. So even if you do the tax return in the tax office, if you miss something or if you do something wrong, the tax office later in a tax audit can review the tax submission and can put a fine to you or a penalty for doing wrongly. And it is not an excuse saying, no, but I did it in the tax office, which is something that people tend to get confused with that. They think that if you do it in the tax office, they have the liability of doing properly or not, and this is not correct. It is always your liability. Okay, so this is on the one hand. On the second hand, the appointments normally are given every 20 minutes, and the tax officer want to finish the tax submission within 20 minutes. So if you have any little special circumstances, for example, if you have a rental from the UK, or if you have a public pension that has to be declared differently in the tax submission, the tax officer probably won't have the information to do so. Think that the people that normally attend this kind of appointments are normally temporary staff that they give a 2 weeks course to them to know how to fill the forms, and they leave them alone to attend people. So they don't have knowledge to do tax return that has some complication. If you, for example, are an employee of a Spanish company and this is your only source of income, in that case, you can go to the tax office and you can do it because it's very, very easy to do, and everything will be on your fiscal data. But if you have pension from abroad, or if you are self-employed, they won't do it. It's not possible for them to do it. They will tell you that they can't do it. Or if you have different source of income from rental, from shares, from cryptos, from investment, whatever, actually it's very usual that they say, okay, no, we can do it, go to a Gestor. Even they tell that, because they cannot do declaration like that in 20 minutes. It's impossible. You can't manage it in 20 minutes,
Yeah. Now, Paula Bramble has a question which it fits in nicely with what I was going to ask you next. She's saying, I'll put it on the screen here. I'm now a Spanish resident. Hooray! Won't be until this time next year that tax returns apply to me. But when it does, what about the overlap between the Spanish tax year and the UK? Because she says I will have already paid UK tax on the earnings from January to March. She's self-employed in both the UK and now in Spain. So yes, how do you deal with that difference in the tax year?
Yeah, well, firstly, I start from the end. If this person has been, hello, actually, thanks for the question. If this friend has been self-employed in the UK and then moved to Spain and become self-employed self-employed in the UK and then moved to Spain and become self-employed in Spain, for that year, he has to declare the income of the activity as a self-employed in the UK. He has to declare it in the UK, and the activity as a self-employed in Spain, he has to declare it in the Decleracion de la Renta in Spain. This is regarding his income from his activity, his professional activity that he's delivering. Beside that, if he has any other source of income, in 2020, I guess that he's saying that he's going to do it that next year. So I guess that he is going to be regarding 2024. So regarding 2024, he has to consider if he has been fiscal resident in Spain or not. If he moved before the 1st of July, or kind of, he has been in Spain in 2024 more than 183 days. So he will be a fiscal resident in Spain for 2024. So when he does the tax return in May next year, 2025, he will have to declare his worldwide income in Spain, except those income from his activity as a self-employed in the UK. That has to be declared there. Okay. But if he has any other income from shares, interest, investment, a rental property, or whatever, it has to be declared in Spain. The opposite, if he comes after July and has been in Spain less than 193 days in 2024, he will declare in Spain only the activity as a self-employed and nothing else, only that. Okay. And for 2025, he will start being fiscal resident if he continue. Hopefully he will being here in Spain. Okay, that's the situation. And how to manage regarding the difference, the first part of the question, regarding the differences between the different tax year. Well, in his case, it's easy because there is a cut on the income when he moved and become a Spanish self-employed. There is a cut. But for those that are pensioner and they have the pension information from April to April, what we normally do is to get the last two P60s, or the last two figures of the last 2 years, and we use a spreadsheet to do the calculations and to pass that from April to April to January to December. So we do the calculation using a spreadsheet to get the information from January to December of the income that you have from this pension. That's the way that has to be managed. So again, this is something that in the tax office and a staff of the tax office is not going to open a spreadsheet to do that, Mm-hmm. So you have to calculate that for your own at home if you know how to do it and give that information. So at the end of the day, it's not practical for an expat do the tax return in the tax office at all.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Paula? Yeah, I hope so.
Oh, Paula, sorry, I was saying he. I didn't. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Paula, she, not he. Sorry.
That's okay. I should have mentioned it.
Thanks for the question, Paula.
Yes, hope that answers your question. And that had me confused because she says she's already going to have paid on the kind of the end of the tax year in the UK. She'll already have paid that tax, but you're saying there's got to be some kind of cut-off when you become tax resident.
When we are talking about self-employed activity, it's easy because whatever activity you've been delivering as a UK self-employed has to be declared there, and the activity that you have been normally when you set up as a Spanish self-employed, you deregister as a UK self-employed. That's the right way to do it. I guess that she did that, and when she did the registration as a Spanish self-employed, I guess that she did it through a gestor or through a tax advisor. So because actually, if doing the tax return in Spain is difficult to manage, doing your quarterly returns as a self-employed in Spain is crazy if you do it for your own, or unless you have you are an accountant and you know how much, But when you do the registration in Spain, only you have to consider the income that you are generating and invoicing from that point, from the Spanish tax authority. So this case is very easy to consider what is the cut,
Okay. So when you're saying, Paula, that you'll already have paid UK tax on January to March, then you shouldn't have, because you should have cut off those earnings, and those should be taxed in Spain once you're registered.
From January to March, she has been paying taxes, or she will pay the taxes when she does the tax return in the UK for those income, and from April onwards, it will be taxable in Spain. I guess that she's doing her quarterly returns every 3 months, so she should be paying in Spain for those Spanish income, and when she does the tax return, she will have this money already paid to the tax office. And in the tax forms, when you are self-employed and you are paying taxes for the income tax in your quarterly forms, you have to calculate your final tax bill, finally how much is my tax bill, and then you will have to consider the taxes that you have already been paying during the year on the quarterly forms. So you have to offset this money from the final tax bill. So if you, at the end of the day, pay more than you should, the tax office is going to give you a rebate. But if you pay less than you should, you have to put some money on top on the yearly tax return. That's how you have to balance the tax bill.
Aha. Excellent. Robbo has a good question. What's the average cost to employ a gestor to do tax returns? That's a difficult question. I don't think there is an average, is there?
Well, it depends on your situation. If you're an individual and have pensions from abroad, we always have to study each case separately. But an average, when you are, for example, an individual with pensions from abroad, which is a typical case, normally it's kind of 70 euros, 80 euros, something like that. When it depends, for example, it would be a little bit more extra if you, for example, has a rental in the UK and we have to declare the income from that rental and consider the expenses. So we have to do some kind of accounting for that part. So we have to study each case separately, but between 70 and 130 or something like that are the most similar situations. It depends on if you are, it's not the same if you are an individual or you are a couple, if you have children, if you have a few jobs in the UK and we have to consider tax exception that we have to study. The more complicated is the case. Actually, obviously the fee is a little bit higher, but there are little increase. It's not that. I mean, it is in my opinion. What can I say? I'm the gestor. I want people to be contacting me, but honestly, I think it's an amount of money that is nothing comparing to the risk of doing the tax return improperly and get a penalty. So it's a money that if you don't expend the money for that in a professional, sooner or later, or unless you are really, really lucky, you will do something wrong and you will get a penalty that will be higher than 5 years fees of your gestor for sure.
So talking about complicated questions, Barry from Unitech has one that's spread over two different messages here. So, I mean, this may be the sort of question that you can only answer by talking to Barry personally, I think, because there's probably a lot of complications involved in it. So he's running
it's not that difficult. I have already read it. No, it's an usual situation that we have actually.
Okay. Well, so let me read it first. He says he runs a limited company in the UK. If he were to decide to move to Spain but keep the company running in the UK, is all of the company's earnings taxed only in the UK, with his personal earnings from it taxed in Spain, along with any pensions, rental incomes and shared dividends?
Yeah. This is an usual situation. We have a lot of clients in that circumstances. The limited company will keep doing the corporate tax in the UK and paying the tax of the activity of the company in the UK, paying the tax there because the company is not moving to Spain. You are moving to Spain. So of course, if you have pensions, rental income, share dividends, etc., and you become a fiscal resident in Spain, all these incomes will be taxable in Spain, out of any doubt. And regarding the income that you get from the company, the usual thing, but there are different ways to manage. One way is to get a salary from the company, and this salary could be taxable in the UK or in Spain, depending if you are moving to the UK to deliver this job physically being there in the UK or not. If you are moving to the UK and you are delivering this job being there in the UK during some period of time during the year, we could apply an exception and you could pay taxes for that salary in the UK. If you are delivering that job remotely from Spain, you have to pay taxes in Spain because you are delivering the job from here, okay? And you have to report to island revenue that, or any other country. What we have to study for these cases, what we have to study is the double taxation agreement between the UK and Spain, or Germany and Spain. And so sometimes there are little differences between them, but in this situation, normally all of them are similar, are the same. And the situation is, as I am explaining, that if you are delivering the job there, you can apply the exception, which is up to 600,000 per year, actually, euros, which is a big amount. And if you are delivering the job from here, you have to pay taxes in Spain. There is another option, which most people actually get this one, which is become self-employed in Spain and invoice your job to your company in the UK. And by this way, you will declare the income here, but by becoming self-employed, the path of getting the residency, getting the healthcare cover, etc., is much more easier. So you can move to Spain, become self-employed in Spain, and declare in Spain the invoicing, the income that you are getting from your company. The company will pay the earnings in the UK, in the corporate tax, but if you invoice them 1,000 euros per month or whatever, or 2,000 euros as an income, not as a salary, but as a professional service to that company, you will declare it as a Spanish self-employed in Spain, in the quarterly funds, etc. And beside that, for sure, if you have pension, rental incomes, share dividends, you will have to include that in the yearly tax return also. I hope
Excellent.
that reply the question.
Yes, I think it does. I can understand all of that. And there are a lot of tax questions where my eyes glaze over when when I'm trying to think about it. But
we always try to not talk about law articles, legal stuff, and try to explain things in words that everybody can understand. But sometimes I maybe tend to forget that people, this is a difficult area for people that are not used to it. So sometimes I explain things maybe quickly because I want to answer all the questions, etc. So if anybody have doubts after my reply, feel free to add the doubts that I still have, and I will try to log in the next few days to reply to that. I don't mind to reply.
absolutely. And normally on the screen, when there isn't something on the screen like that, you can see www.paperwork.es is how to get in touch with Antonio. It's also listed in the video description below the video. So Jed Tierney has a question that I think we answered earlier, all about pensions, but let's just cover it again. If I move to Spain, would the UK government tax my state pension at source in the UK, or would it be taxed in Spain, or would I have a choice of where it's taxed?
Well, when he or she, sorry, who was
He
the question?
is a he. Yeah.
Okay, if he has a UK government tax, UK government
State pension.
The state pensions in source is taxes in the UK, as this person said. So what he has to do is to get a fiscal residency certificate from the Spanish tax office, which is a document that proves that you have moved your fiscal residency to Spain, and send this document within a form that you can easily find on the website of the UK tax office, on the Ireland Revenue Tax Office, or the gov.uk is the website actually. So there you can easily find a form where you report your fiscal residency status to Ireland Revenue, and then they will stop applying taxes over your pension because they will know that you are going to start paying taxes in Spain. If there is a delay since you moved to Spain, which is something usual, when you move to Spain, sometimes it takes time to get the fiscal residency approval. So it could be a period of time, a few months or a year, or actually, that the pension could be being taxed in the UK, and then you have to pay taxes in Spain. So within this form, when you report to them the status of fiscal residency in Spain, there is a part also to ask for a rebate of this period of time that you have been paying taxes in the UK, and you have to pay taxes in Spain. because it was wrong to pay taxes for these periods in the UK. So you fill this part, and the tax office from the UK will pay you this rebate. Okay? We'll do this rebate for you.
Excellent. Oh, Chris from Upsticks is online. How good, mate. Have a great show, guys, he says.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Excellent. And Paula is replying to what you said earlier. She said, yes, the accountant set her up as self-employed from the 1st of April. So that's good. That's aligned her up with the end of the tax year in the UK. So hopefully she's made it easier for herself that way.
To be honest, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mind. The date that you do the registration, it could be the 1st of April or it could be the 1st of September. It will be exactly the same. You just need to declare in the form of that year from the point when you do the registration. We do registrations for self-employed people in Spain during the whole year, when they need it, So it doesn't make any difference, but if an accountant set up the self-employed on the 1st of April, he will start declaring the income from the point, and that's it. So she don't have to be worried about that.
Excellent. Robbo says, until my wife receives her state pension in 5 years' time, we'll be living off my work pension and our savings. What documentation will my wife need to prove she has no income? This is documentation for your visa, is that right? I think. Or is it documentation for the tax money?
Year we will be living off. No, she won't. She won't need to prove she has no income, so she's been maintained by him now. She's dependent economically of him now. So basically, if he's talking regarding how to get the residency, the minimal income that he will need to prove is higher because he will have to cover for himself and for her. So basically, the income for that the husband that he has to have is higher than if he will apply alone. If he will apply only for his own. But regarding her, she doesn't need any paperwork. She just needs to declare that she, at the moment, has no income. That's it. So, okay. For example, for getting residency, our friend Chris from Upsticks, which is a specialist for that, will help them to get the residency for both, while the income that he has is enough to cover both. So this is not any problem while you have enough income to prove and enough savings to prove that you are able to maintain yourself in Spain during the time of the residency,
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Hope that answers your question, Robert. So we talked about the different tax year compared to the UK. Are there any more other important things we need to be prepared for leading up to the time of the tax return?
Well, there are a lot of problems usually when you don't have good records of your paperwork. Sometimes it's very difficult to ask to get the information. So it is important to, during the year, when you get letters from your pensions, when you get a letter from your payer, if you have a job or something, keep good records of them. So when this moment of the year comes, you can provide everything to your gestor very easily. Normally, we advise our client to open a Google Drive folder, and during the year, when they get any letter information, they scan it, drop it there, and forget it. So when the moment comes, we just need to open the Google Drive folder, and everything will be there. So this is something important to be prepared for the tax. And of course, if they go to a gestor to do the submission, it is important to explain very, very well. They should ask. They should do a lot of questions. When we do a tax return for the very first year, we have to do a lot of questions to our brand new clients because we need to know the circumstances of them regarding, for example, the family members, if they are living, the children are living with them or not, how old are them, all the information. If they, for example, something that people tend to forget, if they have a handicap, you can get a fiscal benefit for this handicap. It's not good that you have a handicap, but at least there is a benefit from a fiscal point of view. So this is something that you don't have to forget when you go to a gestor to report that to them. and the gestor will explain it to you how to get the recognition of this handicap to be valid to use it into the tax forms. Well, mainly that's the main thing. The main thing is to be a little bit organized with the paperwork to make the job a little bit easier to your gestor to not miss anything, And again, we do question about, for example, if you have done a reform at home and change the windows or something like that. Every year there are possibilities to get benefits or to pay a little bit less if you have done specifically things. For example, if you have children and you're paying language classes for them, this is something that can be offset, for example. And these kind of things are different in the different regions of Spain. It's not the same in Andalusia that, for example, in Valencia, in the Comunidad Valenciana, you can offset your gym subscription, for example. But it's not possible here in Andalusia. There are differences all around Spain about these little things. So, because again, all these things are things that the tax officer won't ask anything about that. If you have this, you have to tell them. But your gestor, if they do a professional job, they should do all these questions to you to get all the information that may help to reduce a little bit the tax bill.
Great. Now, I think we've gone probably over halfway through the show at the moment, but we'll take our usual short little break and have a quick message from me and my alter egos, all of the voices inside my head, about the wonderful things available to you as YouTooSpain fans. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes, and here we go. Are you getting the most out of YouTooSpain? I don't know! Did you know that apart from these Saturday morning live shows with expert guests, or expats with really exciting stories to tell, it's like the Graham Norton show, there are videos every Wednesday evening, packed with all the information you need, so we can move to Spain and enjoy living here without paying tax. No, Colonel, that's illegal. But you can find out how to navigate the bureaucracy successfully. Well said, Walter. How do I find the videos? Just subscribe to the YouTube channel, darling. And click on the bell, you useless Colonel. There's a playlist here called Video Diaries. Oh, now that is Skatz's thrilling personal story about his life and health in Spain. Still alive! Hashtag FOF. You can support YouTooSpain as well, my darlings, if you think you've learned something valuable, or if you've been entertained. Skatz looks like he needs your support. The poor bugger can't even stand up. If he was a horse, I'd shoot him. Colonel! He's not a very nice man. It's all right. He's just a two-dimensional stereotype. Aren't we all, sweetie? I'm not. Brexit! Moving on! So how do we support YouTooSpain? Use the QR code in the corner. Or there's a link in the video description below. I can't find it anywhere, darling. In the video description, you idiot. I've warned you, Colonel. I'll send you back to the nunnery. While you're watching or pausing, below the video, you'll see the title. Just here. Oh, I see it. Not far below that, there's a description of what the video is all about. It says, read more. That's right. Just click or tap on that and lots more text appears. What's the information all about? There's contact information for the expert guests and lots of links to other related companies that I recommend. And they help out YouTooSpain if you use those links to get in touch with them. There's so much down below. Does anyone have a pen? No need, Tommy. You can find everything on our website, YouTooSpain.com. And don't forget the Facebook page and the YouTooSpain community group, where you can talk to other people like you. There's no one like me, sweetie. Thank goodness. Is that everything? There's a guest waiting to tell me things. Oh, I do like things. Where's Doogie Dog? That used to be his line. I'm stuck behind a wall. Oh, sorry, Doogie. I'll come and find you after the show. Thank you, Master. Get back to the show. I need to go and punch some servants. Oh, Colonel. Back to Skatz in the studio. Thanks very much, Skatz Walter. Dick, Tommy, Colonel, and Doogie Dog for joining us. If you have any questions for any of them, then ask below in the comments.
I love some of these characters.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow,
there's
awesome. Your twins did a really good job.
brilliant. Thanks very much. So where will we end the questions? What documents do you need to prepare, I think, for your Decleracion? That's things like the P60, P45 and things like that?
Exactly. If you have pensions, you have to get regarding the state pension, you have to get every year in March or April, you get a letter from the state pension with your updated weekly amount. This is something that we can use. Alternatively, if you have the state pension address into your Spanish bank account, you can list the income. But the thing is that if you have a tax audit after doing the tax submission, the tax office is going to request the paperwork. They want to see paperwork. They love paperwork, you know. So they will request this letter, for example. So even for us, it will be enough if you send the figures. We prefer to be prepared for a tax audit. So we will always request the paperwork, the letter, the P60, whatever, the P45. It is if it is a job in the UK, you will get normally the P45 as a briefing of the year, because we will have this in the records. And if sorry, if a tax audit comes in the next 4 or 5 years, we will have everything ready to submit in a second, you know, to the tax office. And even if you are not in Spain at the moment or whatever, for example, our fee, which is something that not all the gestors does, our fee cover to attend any tax audit that may come in the future during the next 5 years, which is the window that the tax office has to review your tax submission. Mm-hmm. So consider that if you are sent a letter of a tax audit, you have 10 days to prepare and send all the documentation without getting a penalty. So if you send me only the figures and in 2 years a letter comes and you spend 2-3 days when you tell it to me, and I spend 1-2-3 days until I tell you what you exactly need to send to me, and you have to start finding documents then. And if you don't find the letter from the state pension, you have to ask for it. It will take a few days. It's impossible to meet the 10 days. So this is why it's better to have everything ready for the worst case scenario, which is having a tax audit. And by this way, you don't have to be worried about getting this scary letter from the tax office, you know.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. Oh, Mike Ripper has a point here. It's not exactly a question. He's saying the UK tax and the government made life easier by counting the state pension against allowance first, which up until this year meant that state pension was paid gross and any tax due would come from other pensions.
I not just see the point. I absolutely agree. As I said, the Spanish tax office and the Spanish tax system is much more complicated. They don't care a lot of doing life easier to individuals. They care only of recovering, getting more taxes, you know. Yeah. So this is why we are here to help people to fight this little battle, you know, against the tax office. So there are a lot of reasons to come to Spain: the sun, the weather, the people, the tapas. But of course, the tax office is not one of them. Absolutely.
No. I bet they still like the tapas then. So David, excuse me, David Tunma says, morning Scats and Antonio. They're moving over in July. So what will I get taxed on in year 2?
In July this year, I guess, he's moving. So my advice for him would be to not do it on the 1st of July, do it at middle July. So by this way, if he hasn't been before in Spain during this year, he won't meet the 183 days. So he will become fiscal resident in Spain, not in 2024, but in 2025. So he will delay well, it depends of his situation, because I mean, not all the situations are worse in Spain than in the UK. There are usually are, but not always. For example, there are a few exceptions. I have clients that have pensions and have annuities as well. The annuities, for example, in Spain, when you put some money as an investment in a company, in Standard Life, for example, or this kind of companies, and you then get an annuity every year or every month, a certain amount that they calculated and give it to you for life, for this amount, for this big amount, big lump that you drop it at any point, has fiscal benefits, this kind of income in Spain, which is a better situation than in the UK. So, for example, clients with annuities eventually may pay less in Spain than in the UK. So my advice actually, that now he's still on time, it is better to ask to a gestor and explain his income situation, his figures, so they can do a simulation to study whether it is better to come before the 1st of July or after, to be a Spanish resident in Spain in 2024 or not. That will be actually the best thing he could do to get the best, the advantage of the best system for him. But this is not a general answer. It has to be to study the situation.
Great. Hope that answers your question, David. And Barry from Unitech says, don't forget to click the like button, everybody. Yes, it's down on that side of the screen. I can't point because everything's reversed on me. And yes, and of course, do the GoFundMe thing. Hover you, whatever you have got to hover over that, and donate some money, because that's all we're after, really. No. So, when my next question is, when do you need to present your Declaracion de la Renta?
Well, the window to do the submission is from the end of April up to the 30th of June. The best way to manage it is normally May if you do through a gestor, because normally in a gestoria we are very busy in April with with quarterly forms, with submission of the accounting books for enterprises to the Chamber of Commerce, or to the company house is where we have to do that. And when we start May is when normally, sorry, 1 second, Scott, I need to.
It's okay, I can hear you had a cough there.
I was sick a few days ago, so still I have some remembrance yet. So at the beginning of May is when normally gestorias start managing the tax return, and we have up to the 30th of June. So if you want to be in the last minute and don't have time to manage properly, May is the best way, the best moment to submit it and to go to your gestor and give everything without being in a rush of the last few. For example, we accept new clients only up to the 15th of June. We cannot accept any new clients after the 15th of June because we need these 15 days to finish it, whatever we already have in hand, So May, no doubt, is the best way, the best moment to start. But the deadline is the 30th of June.
You can start mine as soon as you want, Antonio, I think.
Okay, we'll try to do it as soon as possible.
Cool.
Well, even it is important to point that even if you do the submission in May, if you have to pay, you won't pay until the 30th of June. I mean, the tax bill will be addressed to be paid that day, even the submission is done in May. You won't pay earlier.
Great, that's good to know. How can you pay the tax bill in the case that it's positive? And just tell everybody what you mean by positive.
Well, positive means that you have to pay, basically, because as I said, if there are withdrawals, if there are retentions for any reason, if you have a Spanish job contract, for example, in the pay slips, the company will apply retentions, for example. So eventually it can happen that you have a negative tax bill because the retention that you've been paying during the year was higher than the final tax bill. In this case, you will get a rebate, which is called a negative result. If it is the opposite, if you have to pay taxes, for example, those with pension from abroad, always has to pay, or the tax bill could be zero or positive and not negative, because from abroad it can be retentions from other country. But if you have to pay, you can pay in once, the 30th of June, or you can ask for two payments, which will be 60% the 30th of June and 40% of the amount on the 5th of November. But this is a delay of this payment without paying any kind of interest. The amount will be exactly the same. Just, they will just split in 60 and 40%. If you have to pay a big amount and you cannot afford it at the moment, eventually it is possible to ask for monthly installments to the tax office, but in that case you will pay some interest, but it's a very little interest. So if you are in a difficult financial position at the time of the year, is not that difficult to get the installments and pay smoothly month per month, you know.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Oh, it's good to see Yogi is with us. He says, sorry I'm late. That's no problem. Have you been at the gym, Yogi? That's normally where you are early on. And thanks very much for your donation there. I'm going to put that up on screen. Yogi's one of our biggest supporters. And he's saying, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. And yes, I'm very well, thanks, mate. Good to see you on the show as usual. Okay, so at this point, we'll move on to talk about, as I said, what a Gestor does. So let's just go into a little bit more detail. Give us a brief list of the sort of services that you provide, especially the ones relevant to people moving to Spain and living here long term.
Well, there are actually the list will be really long because I don't want to bore your audience. So I'm going mainly, as I said before, we can manage any procedure that we have to do with the Social Security Office, tax office. So, for example, for someone that is coming to Spain, the usual services that we deliver is managing their tax affairs against the tax office, managing their registration. If they decide, for example, to become self-employed, we will manage their quarterly funds, their bookkeeping. We will become their accountant, so we will do all the accounting services, and we will help them with all the different things related to it, like being registered in the Social Security as an autonomo, to pay the monthly fee for the Social Security office, and other people that come from abroad may have an S1 certificate regarding the healthcare cover, so we help them to do the registration of that S1 form into the Social Security office, exchange the driver license. We are Gestor. We can deal with all the procedure with the traffic office, like exchanging the driver license, or import a vehicle into Spain, or do a change of ownership of a vehicle, of a car or a bike in Spain. When you buy that from a dealer, the dealer normally will deal with that. But if you buy a car from an individual, you normally will need to find a Gestor to do that. So we could help with that as well. What we, for example, don't manage straight away is, for example, inheritance, but on the network that we have fellows that manage that. So the name of our website say everything, paperwork, you know, anything related to paperwork, we will be able to manage it, or we will have someone in our network that will help them. As for example, we have Upsticks with Chris Woodake to manage with the residency permits. This is their specialization, and when they finish with that, they moved the client for us for managing their tax affairs. This is an usual path for new clients that come to Spain, for example.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So we'll finish off with this question, and this is the top tips that we said we'd give to everybody that will help you and the client manage Spanish red tape. You've got some lovely tips for us.
Yeah, well, as I said, the first tip will be good records. That's the main thing that they have to consider, to have good records of all the paperwork that they get. When this paperwork that they get is something that has to be replied, for example, a letter from the tax office, my tip is to communicate or send this letter to your gestor immediately. Don't wait even 4 or 5 days, because sometimes or usually the deadlines are really short, and you don't know until your gestor read the letter what need to do. So maybe it will take a time. So if you got a letter from the tax office, send it to your gestor immediately. And if you have sometimes or usually problems getting letters in your address for, I don't know, there are sometimes big urbanizations that are difficult to find or confused to find the correct house or whatever, and people in some specific areas has a problem, or they live in the country and the postman normally don't go there or whatever, it is possible to contract through us or through other companies a service that is for tracing letters from the tax office, from the Social Security office electronically. So this is a very secure way to be sure that no letters are missed. So if you have problem with your address, find out how to hire this kind of service. Other tips, don't try to find answer for fiscal things on internet for your own. This is a usual mistake, because it is very easy. It's the same with the doctor, it is very easy to find wrong information, or even not being wrong could be outdated and is not valid nowadays because the law has changed. And maybe you find a place that has been wrote 3 years ago and at the moment was correct, but the criteria now or the law now is different. So better to go always to a specialist that will be updated. We've been talking before about the Society of Gestors, which has the advantage of covering us for the liability, but another advantage is that the society is always encouraging us gestors to update our formation with new course every month. We have new course about Social Security, tax office, new rules. So the society organized meetings with public officers, with tax inspectors, Social Security inspector, labor inspectors. We have meetings with them where they update to us the new criteria about certain things. So this is a piece of information that is not available for the main public, it's not available on the net. It's something that we have in private meetings with them, and so only if you are a professional can access to these kind of meetings. So another good tip is to always send, please, the paperwork to your gestor with enough time to manage. Don't wait for the last minute. This is another usual mistake, that you tend to think that, okay, my case is not that difficult, so maximum this could take a day to be done, but consider that we have more clients. So we cannot get your paperwork and forget all the people that have been sending paperwork before you. We have to follow a path, we have to follow a list, a waiting list. So the sooner you send everything, the better to manage without any rush. Basically, that's it. Well, the last thing will be that if you don't speak very good Spanish, my advice will be to find a gestor that speaks English, for sure. Okay. I have a lot of clients that come to us sometimes because they have a gestor that was very professional, but sometimes there was something lost in translation, because the gestor doesn't speak English, the client doesn't speak Spanish, so they try to communicate through Google Translator or something. But this is now with with artificial intelligence, maybe it's going to improve that. Probably they will for sure, but still nowadays it's difficult to manage that way. It's better to have a real conversation with your gestor to clarify things. So find a gestor that don't exist a lot, but we exist, gestor that speak English. So don't go to the first gestoria that you find, but try to find a gestoria where you can be attending in English. And if in your area there is no one that speaks English, contract or hire a gestoria remotely. It's not a problem to have a gestoria remotely, because with the video chat, email, phones, etc., is not a big change. Of course, always is nice to meet your clients face to face in real, but it doesn't make any difference to manage with the tax affairs if we have clients abroad, or in other area of Spain, And, and if you are not in Andalusia, always is a good excuse to move to Andalusia to visit us eventually, and it's another good reason to do a road trip in Spain.
Very good. Yes, yeah, it's true. I didn't actually meet you face to face for ages. We did everything remotely.
Yeah, we do everything online remotely, and we are not that far away. Actually, I'm in the Fuengirola office. I was last Thursday in the Fuengirola office. So eventually we have to meet in person and have a chat and have a lunch or something. So
absolutely, yes. Oh, you mentioned something earlier, which was a good tip. Make sure you hire a gestor who has the society of gestors behind them. That's one that it's worth reminding people.
Yeah, it's good. Well, while it is a gestor, he has to be registered in the society. I mean, just the name gestor and the logo of gestoria, which is a G and an A in gray and dark red. This is the logo of Gestoria Administrativa. If you see this logo, means that this is a registered gestor.
Good to know. And also ask the gestor before you put in your Decleracion. Just make sure that they're prepared for the documents to come, and they'll help you prepare that as well.
Of course. No doubt.
Good. So that's all of the questions that I have. Barry from Unitech, thank you so much, has also made a donation, and he says, is this tax deductible? That's a good point. Is our gifts tax deductible?
Super chat, you have to let me know what it is. Sorry.
It's the button. I think you press a sort of dollar sign on the screen. It's a donation to me.
For those that pay, no, sorry, it's not deductible. It's a really, really good custom, and it helps Skatz a lot, but unfortunately, it's not deductible. It's not. Sorry. This is a good suggestion for the tax office. We will try to put on the list on the next suggestions.
So no charity donations, are there?
Charity, yes. If you do charity donation, it's possible to offset. You will offset 15% of the amount, but it has to be an official charity company. For example, the one against the cancer. For example, the Spanish Asociación contra el Cáncer is a company we actually collaborate every year, and we offset that, for example.
Good to know. Barry said, I didn't know you could do that. Thanks, Yogi. Yeah, so well done. So if anybody else wants to hit the dollar sign on the screen, then they can do that. Okay, so if you have any more live chat questions, anybody, then do ask them now. Before thanks, Darren. He's thrown in €5 there. Lovely. So yes, ask any more questions right now, and while we're waiting for those to come in, just let me remind you that if you have any more questions or comments after we go off the air, put them in the YouTube comments below, not on some random Facebook expat group, because it won't help enough people. Put it on here so that everybody else who watches the video can get the answers too, and get the help that you all need. Absolutely for free. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. And of course, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe and click on the bell if you haven't already. And subscribe and click on the bell to Skatzman, the other channel, so you'll be the first to know what's coming up each week on the live shows, the midweek videos, and the video diaries. That's the other one. Any more questions? Of course, if you want to ask Antonio questions directly, then you can do that via paperwork.es. And I highly recommend it. And Darren says, cheers, very helpful, yeah. Antonio, I will be in touch.
Okay, I will look forward. Thank you, Darren.
Brilliant. So I can't see any more questions coming up. Oh, Barry says, we should have an SOS charity, save our scats.
Well, for sure. We can talk about opening that charity company, no doubt.
Yeah, okay then. We'll discuss that afterwards.
I like the name.
Yeah. Okay then. So that's all of the questions. And before we find out which exciting guest I have on next week's show, I'm sure most of you know already, let's say a huge thank you to Antonio and give him a massive virtual hug and a kiss. And thank you. And we'll see you very soon in the near future, I'm sure.
Hope so. And thank you to you for the invitation, of course.
You're very welcome. All right, then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Ooh, there we go. How long have you lived in Spain, Skatz? Asks Darren. It's been 2.5 years now. Slightly more than 2.5 years. I think we moved in October. Yes, it was. October 21. No. Does that make it 2.5 years? Time goes by so fast. Anyway, who do I have on the show next week? As if you didn't know, of course, it's our best mate, Chris from Upsticks. And we've got something very interesting we're going to be talking about, but I'm going to leave you in suspense for a few days and then surprise you with an announcement during the week. It's all very exciting. Chris can, of course, answer all of your general questions about visas and residencies and registering cars and much more. So if you have any general questions about any of that, then you can ask them in advance on the Facebook page or the Facebook group. Or if you haven't got any questions, then just prepare yourself for a lovely chat. So thank you, all of you on the live chat, for joining us, and anybody who was watching the video back afterwards at any point, then thank you too. And thank you for leaving comments and hitting the like button and supporting us with donations and memberships and all of the other ways that you can support us. And I will see you either on the midweek video or the video diary on Fridays, or live on Saturday mornings at the regular time of 9 o'clock if you're in the UK, Ireland, Portugal, the Canary Islands, or 10 o'clock if you're in Spain or anywhere else in Central Europe. And if you're anywhere else in the world, then I'll let you work out what time it's going to be. So that is all for this week. Barry from Unitech is going to be watching from poolside in Rhodos. And Anton Kez say bon weekend to Skatz and Liz and Chris and Lara and the kids. That's lovely. And I'll speak to you soon, my lovelies. So, yes, that's all for this week. Someone pass around the tax return cookies. That's what we're calling them this week. So peace and love, peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head at YouTooSpain. See you soon. Take it away, boys. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.